It's just not obvious that someone is using marijuana. So what should policies look like?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Again, based on state laws, you want to look at that. But also, too, there's nothing that says that an employer can't have a drug-free workplace law. So employers can still implement drug-free workplace laws, and that can include being under the influence of drugs or alcohol at work, and being impaired. Of course, they can, in many states, still drug test employees. So again, there's different state laws when it comes to drug.
Monday. Live from your local news leader, this is KTTC News.
Thanks for joining us tonight. A storm is rolling this way. Could be raining on some of our 4th of July celebrations to tomorrow. But meantime, let's check in with Nick Jansen, who is out on the weather patio. And Nick, you and I were talking. I got a phone call from Lake City about half an hour ago or so that really is getting a big storm in that part of our viewing area.
Yeah, Tom, and really, I know you're looking forward at the teleprompter, but all you have to do is glance right behind you, and on the monitor there's a lot of lightning right behind you. That's from those storms that are just off to the north of Highway 14 here, and we're dry. Obviously, I'm standing out here on the weather patio, so nothing right now on the northwest side of town. But that could change if these storms hold together here. Everything in just north of Rochester, just in north of Olmsted County. So we're finally getting a couple little cells just barely into Olmsted County here. So some Baroda into Pine Island. We have Elgin. We have Plainview, all with some really heavy rainfall. Tom was talking about right through Lake City in the Mississippi River Valley with some heavy rainfall. I know I got into a couple reports of Altura with some downpours happening right now. Everything just north of Rochester. We'll see if these storms can hold together long enough to get us some much needed rainfall here. Everything's starting to form right along Highway 52, so we might get lucky enough here in Rochester with some rain within the next 15 to 20 minutes. It's all forming right along a cold front. That same front will still be the weather maker on the way for tomorrow, too. It kind of lingers on through the daytime hours on Tuesday. Here's a live look at our Lewis Nata live camera. That is looking north along Highway 52, and look at the light show here to the north. A lot of lightning with some of these cells currently here in Rochester. We're still at 75. Notice at the airport we're still dry, but these showers and thunderstorms will roll through here fairly soon. Temperatures remaining in the 70s. We're upper 70s currently in Austin and Albert Lea, both at 79 degrees. Hour by hour forecast here. Some showers and thunderstorms through the next couple hours. I do think by about probably close to 11:30 to midnight tonight, we'll start to see these showers and thunderstorms kind of fizzle out. We are tracking the chance for maybe some strong storms on the way for late Tuesday night. So 4th of July, right around dusk, we could be once again looking at thunderstorms like we have outside currently. We'll track the storms for tonight and for tomorrow night out. That's coming up in your first alert forecast. Tom.
All right, Nick. Well, the drought across the upper Midwest has continued to intensify. While spotty rain has given some relief, some are starting to worry that their harvest will be considerably lower. Our Olivia Prynzinski talked with a soybean farmer today and to get more of his story.
We need rain.
Those three words have been said by many in the upper Midwest these past few weeks. And farmer Steve Wagner says his family hasn't seen a season this bad since 1988.
The yield's already going to be down, I'm sure, yeah. Yep. Yeah, it's going to, I know it will be. Just from the germination alone on the beans, on some of the bean fields is going to be bad.
Wagner farms corn and soybeans near Plainview. He says his corn crops have held up better, and the heavy rainfall from earlier this spring is what has saved the crops.
Most all of it soaked in, and then the snow melt was slower, and that soaked in, and it's a good thing because I think there is some subsoil moisture, and that's why like some of the cornfields are not looking really bad.
According to Crop Insurance in America, Minnesota crops contribute more than $18 billion to this economy. And with this year's drought, that number could be considerably lower.
Looking at this right now, what would a typical soybean crop look like?
Well, they wouldn't have these skips in here, like right here, because that's where they didn't germinate.
By this time of the season, soybeans should almost be double in size. But Wagner says even with some considerable rain, it might not be enough.
It'll help it, that's for sure. I don't know about save it. I think the yield's already going to be reduced, but it'll definitely help.
Farmers are able to get crop insurance in case of a drought, excessive moisture, or disease. But this could be expensive. Near Plainview, Olivia Prynzinski, KTTC News.
And as the hot, dry conditions continue, the Minnesota DNR is reporting nearly the entire state now is in a drought. One industry that's been impacted by this is golf courses. At the Pine Island Golf Course, the fairways and greens looking a little less green than normal. The superintendent there says that they are running their irrigation system every night to make up for the lack of rain. He says it helps, but it's not as good as the actual rain because it doesn't contain the same nutrients and it doesn't cover as much ground.
On a normal summer, would you do the irrigation every night like you're doing now?
No. So we'll switch it up. We'll have greens on Mondays, fairways on Tuesdays. So we'll skip a day on greens and stuff, but at the moment we have to do everything every single day.
And just yesterday, the golf course used about 160,000 gallons of water in its irrigation system. This week, 45 years ago, the Med City went underwater. It's known as one of the most impactful Mother Nature-induced events in Rochester history. The Great Flood of 1978 left a path of death and destruction.
And much of the downtown area, really much of all of Rochester along the Zumbro River is underwater.
The flood claimed the lives of 5 people and left much of the downtown in disarray. Community members left to clean up the mess. The flood changed much about the city and how it looks today as the event inspired a $115 million flood mitigation project, which led to the construction of several reservoirs and altered the pathways of many waterways like the Zumbro River and Bear Creek. Here's how one sister remembered the floods and helping hundreds of people left without a home in an interview from Rochester Public Library's archives.
What I do remember is that there was some people that were in their nightwear because that's how they came, and the police said, you got to get out, you got to come now, and this is how you're going. So there were people that were running around all night with their nightgowns on, and maybe they had a robe and maybe they didn't. So first thing I did was to help them find some other kind of clothing to wear.
And that was Sister Marlis Jacks. July 5th is the official date. That marks 45 years where it kept on raining in Rochester and did not stop. And this Wednesday, we will have a full story, including interviews from people who remember that day and what steps the city is taking to ensure that major flooding never happens again. Governor Tim Walz has just announced that Minnesota is sending firefighters to Canada to battle the raging wildfires there. A crew of 17 wildland firefighters was sent to Manitoba after they requested aid through the Minnesota DNR. Mutual aid like this is made possible through the Great Lakes Forest Fire Compact, which is an international agreement allowing Minnesota, Michigan, Wisconsin, Manitoba, and Ontario to share firefighting resources when necessary.
Hats off to the incredible work that these firefighters are involved with in their daily work activities. It's incredibly grueling work, especially when you are facing significant active wildfire.
And the DNR has to closely consider the circumstances of each given situation to make sure that aid is necessary and available. Well, some service members have a hard time voting in elections. That's according to a recent study. Minnesota Senator Amy Klobuchar is leading efforts, though, to help veterans find their voices in U.S. politics. The Supporting Military Voters Act would require a study to examine and identify improvements that our voting system needs to make sure service members and their families have access to voter registration information. The study would also find a way to give service members more access to absentee ballots, as it was recently discovered that 1 in 5 aren't able to vote in the 2020 election, even though they wanted to, saying that they weren't able to register or request an absentee ballot. Well, if you've been down to Soldiers Field this past week, you have noticed some heavy machinery around the pool. Demolition has started on the decades-old aquatic center. That area is fenced off. Slides are coming down to get ready for major construction. The new aquatic center will feature 3 water slides, a lazy river, a splash pad, a 50-meter swimming pool, and a renovated bathhouse. The plan is for the center to be completed and ready to open by next summer. This is all part of the Soldiers Field master plan.
One thing that we know the community was really excited about when we were talking about possible aquatic features, a lazy river. So while it's sad to see the pool close this summer, very excited and looking forward to next summer.
The renovation is part of a $22 million project. It includes creating an accessible playground at Roy Sutherland Park and new basketball courts. The city is asking that people steer clear of the construction site, especially with the 4th festivities happening tomorrow. And if you are looking for more 4th of July plans or parties, KTTC has you covered. Tonight, you can check out fireworks in Dover to get the celebration started. Those are happening right now. And tomorrow, there are many events around the southeast Minnesota to check out. You can attend a fireworks show in Owatonna tomorrow at 10 at the Steele County Fairgrounds, or stay right here in Rochester. We have one at Soldiers Field as well. For a full list of fireworks shows, you can go to our website, kttc.com. Recent Supreme Court rulings have drawn a lot of criticisms nationwide. How candidates running for the White House are responding.
We're tracking some showers and thunderstorms currently here, maybe getting some much needed rainfall here in Rochester. We saw the sunshine earlier today, the storms now, potentially some storms on the way tomorrow night too. We'll have your forecast coming up right after this.
Tonight, Jimmy kicks off 3 nights of Bruce Springsteen with the real truth.
A sharp division is growing over recent Supreme Court rulings. Hot-button issues related to gay rights, college admissions, and student loans all in the spotlight right now. Republicans with their eyes on 2024, applauding the court's decisions from the campaign trail. NBC senior White House correspondent Kelly O'Donnell has more.
This morning, high court repercussions as 2024 candidates and the White House respond to the recent major Supreme Court decisions.
We are moving forward with another pathway to debt relief.
President Biden racing to find new ways to erase some federal student loan debt after the conservative justices blocked the president's first proposal, a decision that candidate Donald Trump praised in South Carolina Saturday.
They ruled against it, 100% against it. Amazing.
Another controversial decision is stoking divisions over gay rights. The High Court found that a Colorado Christian web designer has a free speech right to refuse to create gay wedding websites.
I think it's a real victory for religious liberty.
It comes as Trump's main rival, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis,
Everything in my power
is under fire for his campaign's new video posted on the last day of Pride Month, attacking Trump for his past support of the LGBTQ community. The video then features a sequence showing DeSantis' hard line on drag shows and transgender policy, interspersed with images of shirtless men and photos of Brad Pitt in the movie Troy. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg, the first openly gay cabinet member, was asked to respond.
I'm going to leave aside the strangeness of trying to prove your manhood by putting up a video that splices images of you in between oiled up shirtless bodybuilders.
Then questioned how that benefits the public.
Who are you trying to help? Who are you trying to make better off?
Some of DeSantis' Republican rivals also pushing back.
I don't think that's what leaders should be doing.
We should be talking about how do we embrace our differences.
Log Cabin Republicans, a group that represents LGBTQ conservatives, calling it divisive and saying DeSantis' rhetoric has ventured into homophobic territory. A DeSantis campaign official tweeting in response to criticism, "Identity politics is poison."
Here's your first alert weather with Chief Meteorologist Nick Jansen.
Well, we're getting some rainfall in some spots here. Much needed rainfall across some portions of southeast Minnesota. Really looking at areas east of Highway 52 here. Nothing severe tonight. Maybe some pockets of some small hail, but really just looking at some thunder, some lightning, and some pretty heavy rainfall in some spots here. We'll check in on future track radar. Everything just north of Highway 14. If this holds together, everyone here in Rochester, most of us should be able to see some rainfall here as this cell continues to move down to the east, southeast. So quite a bit of heavy rainfall. Again, everything right along and to the east of Highway 52 here. We'll zoom in. Nothing right now in Rochester. It looks like most of it just to the north, but through Orinoco and about Pine Island, just south of Zumbrota. Byron, you can look off to the north and you can see all that lightning. We could have a hail core right around this vicinity here in the far northwestern corner there of Olmsted County, north of Byron. So we'll keep an eye on that. Nothing severe, like I said, at this point in time, but some pockets of really heavy rainfall through about St. Charles, again, right along the highway there. We're looking farther off to the east, just south of Winona, and I had a couple reports out of Winona of some pretty heavy rainfall through Lake City. And we need the rain at this point in time. We'll put radar in loop here. Notice a lot has really just kind of developed just off kind of on an outflow boundary a little bit here to the west of the initial line that was right along the Mississippi River Valley. These will continue hopefully through the next couple hours if they slow down a little bit, so we could have a nice steady rainfall through the next maybe hour or so here in Rochester. Now this is all right along a frontal boundary that will still be the weather maker, I think, on the way for tomorrow too. So we're looking at, again, maybe the same type of setup through the day tomorrow. Well, I should say through the evening tomorrow and then into the overnight hours, all with that cold front. Eventually that front will slide through by tomorrow evening. Here's a live look outside and we can see all the lightning here. Doesn't look like it's raining just quite yet on the northwest side of town. We might see some wet roadways, but hard to tell if it's raining currently on our Loosen That Alive camera. But a lot of lightning here on the northwest side of town. Not raining at the airport, still at 74 degrees, but we're picking those winds up. That's a good indication of the frontal, or at least the front of that cell moving in with those wind right now at 25 miles per hour. Temperatures here tonight will hold steady. We're down into the upper 60s, and we will see the threat for showers and thunderstorms through at least the next I'd say 1 to 2 hours. So tonight, some straight isolated thunderstorms continue until close to midnight. 4th of July, hot and humid, and then the threat for showers and thunderstorms. So throughout the late evening hours again tomorrow, maybe a couple stronger storms, and then highs will be in the 70s later on this week. Tomorrow here we are tracking some scattered showers and thunderstorms. Now a couple of them, so isolated severe threat tomorrow. A couple stronger storms, pretty much looking at maybe some gusty winds and then some hail. Here's future track here for tomorrow then. We start things off nice and quiet. This is at 10 o'clock in the morning. Temperatures are warm already. We fast forward through the afternoon and evening. Thunderstorms start to develop to the north-northwest. And then we see some storms move in right around about dusk, 9 to 10 o'clock here tonight or tomorrow night, the chance for some thunderstorms. And then we'll see some isolated storm activity into early on Wednesday. So as we look at your fireworks forecast, yes, we will be looking at the threat for some isolated to scattered showers and thunderstorms from about 9, 10, and 11. Even close to midnight. So keep an eye on the forecast. Have that first alert weather app handy to look at the radar if you're trying to go out and see some fireworks for the 4th of July. Temperatures here tonight, upper 60s. The threat for some showers and thunderstorms until about midnight. Tomorrow, 90 for the high. There will be some sunshine tomorrow through most of the morning and into the afternoon. And then finally, probably after about 6 or 7 o'clock, we'll see that threat for some showers and thunderstorms. So tomorrow, the chance for some evening scattered showers and thunderstorms, maybe a couple stronger ones, looking at hail and maybe a wind threat. And then temperatures pretty comfortable. Tom, we're close to the 90s, and then all of a sudden we're back to the mid 70s by Wednesday.
Well, all right, Nick, thank you. And this just into our newsroom, the Goodhue County Sheriff's Office telling us that 3 men have not resurfaced from the Mississippi River after going under the water around 7:30 this evening. 1 man fell into the water. 2 others jumped in apparently to try to rescue him. None of them have been seen since. Again, none had resurfaced. No bodies have been recovered as well. We'll be sure to pass along more information as it becomes available to us. Well, a hall called the Birthplace of Liberty reopens after an extensive preservation project. We'll have more on this timely reopening after this. Well, known as the Birthplace of Liberty, Carpenter's Hall in Philadelphia, which you see behind me, was the location of the First Continental Congress. The historic building was closed for more than a year for a preservation project after a delay caused by an arson fire. And now, on the eve of our nation's birthday, Carpenter's Hall is open again.
Here we go. We can go inside again. The doors to Carpenter's Hall in Old City open once again, welcoming visitors to the place where delegates met for the First Continental Congress.
We met here for a number of reasons. One, it was a neutral meeting place, right? Independence Hall, which was then the Pennsylvania State House, was the seat of British colonial government, right? So they didn't want to meet there to talk about things that were potentially treasonous.
Michael Norris is CEO of Carpenter's Hall. The historic building closed for more than a year during a preservation project that overlapped with the aftermath of an arson fire.
What was the most difficult part of the project that you all just went through?
Well, I guess sort of emotionally difficult was just the idea that someone would set fire to a building that's, such a historic landmark and has played such an important part of our history.
We went into the basement where the fire was contained, but leaves a scar.
But this one we left, right? So you could kind of see what it looked like and what had happened. Because again, I feel like the fire's now part of our story, right? It's part of the history of the building, so we can't pretend that it didn't happen.
Is that my imagination, or does it actually smell a little smoky?
No, it definitely does.
Norris says that smell returned in the basement this past week as the AC started running and will subside over time.
Can we see any of the impact of the fire up here?
Hopefully not.
Upstairs, everything cleaned and repainted. A case on one side holds a mix of items.
There's pottery shards, pipes, all different kinds of things.
Including ones found in a locked chest from the last preservation project in the 80s. Refreshed, Carpenter's Hall now back open to tell the story of its role hosting a moment in history.
If that hadn't happened, we might not be celebrating July 4th, right? There might not have been a Declaration of Independence, or the course of events might have just happened in an entirely different way.
The doors open just in time for the nation's birthday.
Well, next in sports, the Rochester Honkers had a chance to clinch a Northwoods League playoff spot, but they needed a win against the Eau Claire Express. Plus, the Minnesota Twins are back at home after a 9-game road trip. Of the highlights is the Twins face the Royals after the break.
Gutter Helmet has been keeping home.
KTTC Sports from the Lucina Siding and Windows Sports Wall.
What's going on, friends? I'm Julian Mitchell. Tonight on the Sports Wall, the Honkers look to clinch a playoff berth against the Express. But first, we start with the Twins. Back from a 9-game road trip, taking on the Royals at Target Field. Kitty corner here from Target Center. Joe Ryan wished for the first pitch of the game back. Michael Garcia takes Ryan deep. Kansas City takes the first lead 1-0. This lead didn't last long, though. Byron Buxton comes through here. It's a sac fly. The bottom of the inning, that will score Carlos Correa. It is 1-1 after 1. Tied 2-2 as we jump ahead, a little deja vu. Byron Buxton, that's another fly ball, this time to center. That'll turn into another sac fly, his second RBI of the night. Max Kepler, go ahead and cross home. The Twins pull ahead 3-2. KC's Nick Prado tied the game with a solo home run to right. Eddie Julian answers, that's a no doubter to right field. His first career pinch hit here is a go-ahead homer. Twins in front, 4-3. That sparked a 4-run eighth for Minnesota. Leo Pagan finished the game, earning the save. Minnesota opens this series with an 8-3 win. Right, from the diamond to the hardwood, we now go next. And there's no need to go to the quantum realm for this Ant-Man, as Anthony Edwards will reportedly be staying in Minnesota for the foreseeable future. According to ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski, the Timberwolves have signed Edwards to a 5-year designated rookie max extension. Woj reports the deal could become worth $260 million. Just 3 seasons, Edwards has turned into a true blue superstar. Last year, the 21-year-old averaged 24.6 points, 5.8 rebounds, and 4.4 assists. His stats have only gone up each year, earning his first All-Star appearance in 2022. In the playoffs, Ant was even better, averaging 31.6 points per game. That now makes 3 players now on the Wolves with max deals. In other news for the team, Wolves announced they've re-signed former Iowa Hawkeye Luka Garza to a 2-way deal. The hardwood to the NHL we go, where the Minnesota Wild made a move as well. The team added forwards Pat Maroon and Max Chaykovich from the Lightning for a 2024 7th-round pick. Now, Maroon's a true vet, 12-year career, 3-time Stanley Cup champ with the Blues and Lightning. The St. Louis native recorded 14 points, 5 goals, 9 assists in 80 games with Tampa Bay last season. Speaking with the media, Maroon's excited to be in Minnesota and loves the way this team plays.
I think we're big, heavy, fast, strong, and it just wears teams down. And you got to be exhausting in the playoffs. You got to be exhausting in the regular season. And when you do that, you do it longer and better, and stay patient. Those are the types of teams that move forward.
Pays off for them.
And for everything Maroon brings on the ice, it's what he brings off of it that makes him a must-get for the Wild. GM Bill Guerin saying he's a personality that this locker room needs.
Pat really knows how to pull guys into the battle. I think that might have been an element that we were missing last year. It's tough to know how to do it if you haven't been there, and he's been there. And I'm looking forward to see him interact with our group and what he adds.
Lastly, to the Northwoods League, the Honkers had a playoff spot on the line tonight at Mayo Field, taking on the team. Team beats yesterday the Eau Claire Express. Bottom one, Honkers trying to attack early. A hit and run. Brendan O'Sullivan chops one to third. Routine ground out, but Paul Schoenfeld, too greedy on the base pass there, attempting to nab third. Said he's the one that gets nabbed. 6-3-5 double play. Top three runners on the corners. Ryan Nagelbach bloops one to center. They'll score Caden Gallison. Honkers down 1-0. Later, Dylan O'Connell doubles to center. That brings in two more, Reed Latimer and Nagelbach. Honkers down at 3-0 here now. Express would keep the train rolling, pun intended. 9 unanswered runs to start the game. Honkers fall 12-1. Get to playoffs, need a really stellar second half. Now here are a couple quick notes before we go. First, a massive shout out to PISM alum, golf standout Anders Larson. At a Monday qualifier today, Larson shot 7 under. It's one of 4 qualifiers for the John Deere Classic, a PGA Tour event. The Tennessee Tech sophomore will make his tour debut at the John Deere Classic. Also for Royce Lewis, Twins announced a likely miss up to 6 weeks. Be back mid-August with a strained left oblique. That'll do it from the Sports Wall. We'll be back after this.
Hey, we'll check in on future track radar. Some showers and thunderstorms. Look at that, breaking through the dome here in Olmsted County. Finally getting some much needed rainfall in Rochester. Raining pretty hard out here on the weather patio. 7-day forecast, 90 for the high tomorrow. See the chance for some showers and thunderstorms right around dusk tomorrow night. So keep an eye on that, especially for that firework forecast.
I can't believe it's raining. I'm going to have to step outside just to make sure. See you tomorrow.
Are you tired of being tired because your mattress